right, so we should be live. And let's see here. So I'm doing an experiment today where I'm streaming on Behance primarily, but I'm also streaming on YouTube. All right. Oh, so we should be live. So that's working. Here. I can see on YouTube. So I'm doing an experiment today. And where I'm streaming also on LinkedIn primarily, but I'm also streaming, also looks pretty good. I'm actually getting YouTube excellent stream health on all these platforms. So that's pretty good. I'm using that's working. Here. I can see on a YouTube, little doodad extension in OBS and to help me do that. I'm streaming also on LinkedIn primarily, but I'm also streaming. Also looks pretty good. I'm actually getting YouTube. Hello everyone. On Behance and on YouTube and on LinkedIn Live. I'm using that's working. I can see enjoy a little doodad extension. I'm going to be primarily looking at the Behance chat, but feel free to use the YouTube or the LinkedIn Live chat too. So I'm going to check those periodically. Hello everyone. And I'll try to identify when I'm talking with someone where they are exactly. I'm going to be primarily looking at the Behance. There is an echo, but feel free to use the YouTube or the LinkedIn Live chat too. So I'm going to check those periodically. Oh, you know what? I bet that's from Behance. And I'll try to identify when I'm talking with someone where they are exactly. No, it's from the. There is an echo, but LinkedIn stream perhaps. All right, that I think I just killed it. No, Isa, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. Mentions on the Behance stream that there was an echo. So I hope the echo is gone. Let me know if it is. Because if there is an echo, then obviously this isn't going to work out very well. Hey, Georgina, how are you? Georgina, do you hear an echo? Or is it okay? Well, I'm going to get going with the project for today. Oh, look at this. So apparently I wasn't quite live on LinkedIn Learning, or LinkedIn Live rather. I had to actually hit go live. So I'm just, learning this stuff, how to do a multi-stream kind of thing. If it doesn't work out, I'll just stick with Behance, but it'd be great to have it stream elsewhere too. All right, so again, let me know if apparently I wasn't quite live on LinkedIn if you Learning, do hear anything, or LinkedIn Live that's rather, a little strange. I had to actually hear echoes and live. Like that. So I'm just, and we'll try to correct, learning again, this is an experiment, multi-stream kind of thing. Thank you. If it doesn't work out, I'll just stick on Behance says it's better now. It'd be great to have it perfect. Stream it should be perfect now, not just better, right? So again, so let me know if it's not perfect. I wasn't quite live on LinkedIn. If you do, so today what we're going to do is a little strange. I'm going to do some textured graphic effects inside of Photoshop, and we'll try to correct. So this is something that is an experiment that my students need to do. It doesn't work out in a while. On Behance says is to place a logo or some other. It should be perfect now, not just better, right? So. So let me know if it's not perfect. I wasn't quite live. Well, gosh, maybe I'll just kill. What we're going to do is a little strange. I'm going to do some texture. Maybe I should just kill the inside of Photoshop. And we'll try to correct. So this is something that actually, if I mute both of those students, I do that doesn't work out in a while. Thanks for bearing with me as I go through and try to sort this out, everyone. All right, is there still an echo or are we good now? I just muted my other tabs for YouTube and for LinkedIn Live. So hopefully that does it. But if not, I will disable both of those streams and then we'll just be on Behance. It's good now? Cool. Yeah, so I've got, each one of these, for people who don't stream themselves, this is what my other my browser looks like with all the different little bits and pieces here. So I've got a tab open for Behance, I got one for YouTube, and one for LinkedIn Live. So what I ended up doing is muting both of those, well, all three of those tabs. I think it was bleeding through in my interface here. So perfect. Thank you for letting me know that it's all good now. Introduce what I'm working on. So what I'm going to be working on is a textured graphic effect. So what this kind of means, what we're doing is, you know, lots of times I teach graphic design and motion design and things like that at a university, and a lot of my students are like advertising students, PR students, media design students. And what they often do is they need to take a photograph like the one you see here in Photoshop. This is something I grabbed from Unsplash. And what they need to do is do sort of a replacement of an existing logo on something like a bag, right? So we've got this bag right here, and it's obviously pretty textured. And what they want to do is realistically make a replacement of that logo. So that's kind of what we're going to do today, is we're going to go through and try to do that. So I hope everybody's doing well today. I haven't quite mentioned or asked how everyone was doing yet, because the couple little audio snags that we had. So I hope everyone is doing okay. Let me know what you're up to. And this is what I'm up to. We're going to be doing this for the next hour or so. And then I'm going to jet, because that's probably all we need. So inside of Photoshop here, you can see I've got... and by the way, this is how I like to arrange my Photoshop workspace, right? So I've got my navigator here. I love having the navigator open because I can easily navigate the app. I can zoom in and move around and stuff like that just from this little window. It's usually not open in most of the workspaces. Usually you have to open it, just go to Window and find Navigator. But I like to dock that along with my Properties panel, and then just have my Layers panel and adjustments and things like that up there, you know. So this is how I do it. So what I've done here is I've opened this little image inside, and when you open like a JPEG or something like that, some kind of photo inside of Photoshop, it of course comes in as a background layer, which you can't do much with, but I like to preserve the background layer, so I just make a copy, and that's the copy that I like to deal with as I go through here. So what I'm going to do is work on this copy, and basically what this does is it helps me, if I do like massively goof this up, then I can always go back and I have that original to work with. So, all right, let's go ahead and remove this guy first of all, and then we're gonna put a new logo on here, and then we're gonna apply some texture to it. There's a couple of ways to deal with texture and pattern and things like that inside of Photoshop. I'm not quite sure what approach I'm gonna take just yet, but we'll see when we get there. So let's go ahead and, you know, spot healing brush might work, but I'm gonna choose my patch tool here. The patch tool is good for stuff like this. You can grab like a big chunk of content, and I can make it pretty much the shape that I'm looking for here. And then you just move it over, right? And you find sort of a similar area. And what Photoshop does is it tries to match all of that and blend it together. It's pretty nice. Yeah, Georgina mentions in the Behance that's what she loves about digital tools, easy to correct and adjust. And absolutely, that's one of the really cool things about you know, doing stuff like with Fresco, right, Georgina? With Fresco, you can do stuff in a painterly or sketchy way without really going through and, you know, committing to things. You can actually go back and, you know, undo and so forth. It makes it very, very easy to, you know, not be so concerned about goofing up or that something isn't going to work out, because you can always undo, you can always go back. So you'll notice here what I'm doing is I've got a little bit of a line here. So I've just used the spot healing brush to just kind of smooth out some of this and blend it together until it looks pretty good. And it doesn't have to look perfect either, because again, we are going to place, you know, another logo over this, right? So let's see here. Yeah, if we zoom way out, yeah, you can tell a little bit, but again, it's gonna look fine once we place the additional logo on there. So let's go and do that now. So I am gonna pop into Illustrator. You don't have to use, you know, vectors for this. You don't have to use Illustrator, but I used this in my last stream, which was 2 weeks ago. I took a week off last week because I was doing a creativity workshop for Adobe Education, which are always fun to do. But, you know, I didn't want to do two things like this in the same day. It's a lot to prep for. So I took the week off last week. So let's see. I'm gonna just select this layer here, layer 1, and you can see this logo. This is the logo for my small business. And what we do is we just select that and copy it. So Command or Control C is gonna do it. And then back inside of Photoshop, we can go ahead and do a Command or Control V to paste that in. And as you can see here, what you've got is you get a choice. You can paste it in as a smart object. You can paste in as pixels, just paths, shape layers. Lots of choices when you're working across Photoshop and Illustrator together. And of course, you know, that's one of the things I'd always try to emphasize to students is, you know, working on these applications together, you know, makes things a lot more powerful in terms of workflow than, you know, if you were just using like some other thing to do your photo editing, some other thing to do your vectors, some other thing to do your video. It's great to have that sort of cohesion between all the different applications in Creative Cloud. So let's see here. Gosh, I think I'm gonna do Smart Object at first. When I go to you know, place this in as a smart object, what it's basically going to do is a smart object is sort of like a container in Photoshop where you can apply different things to an object, but it applies it in a non-destructive way that also allows you to go inside of that smart object afterwards and make adjustments to it. So it preserves like all of your layers, all your shapes, all the stuff we're bringing into Illustrator is preserved through here. So it's wonderful. Smart Object is great, and of course Smart Object allows for things like smart filters, so non-destructive filters you can edit after the fact and so forth. So I'm going to choose Smart Object here and hit OK. It's gonna paste it in. There we go. So there's our little logo for Fractured Vision Media. And what I'm going to do now, you can see we automatically get this little box around it here. We can rotate, we can transform, all stuff like that. So I am going to go and make this much, much smaller, right? Because we want to paste it over where that original item was living there. So I don't know, something about that big. It's pretty big, but you know, we're trying to advertise our brand here, so you know, we can't really be faulted for that, right? So let's go ahead and rotate this a little as well, because as you can see, the bag is a bit rotated. Oh, thanks, Georgina, for posting that link in for the creativity workshops. That's great. Very helpful. Is the recording ready? Do you know, Georgina, for that? They're sometimes very slow at getting the recordings of the creativity workshops together. So I'm not sure if that would be quite up there yet or not, but there's good info on that page for upcoming workshops and things. I did my workshop on interactivity in Adobe Animate for beginners. And it was fun. You know, sometimes you get bogged down in all the stuff you can do inside of Animate. And I'm sure it's like that with, you know, with other applications as well, right? Like Photoshop, there's a bunch of stuff you can do in there. But yeah, Animate is such a mystery to so many people. And so many people are just like, I don't know if afraid is the best word, but they're intimidated by Animate. And I think it's because of its legacy as, being, for a long time a more developer focused tool. When Adobe first acquired Macromedia, they sort of made it that way. But now it's not so much anymore. It's a solid design tool, a solid motion tool at this point, going back to its roots as an animation tool. And that's why they renamed it to Animate, right? All right. So now that I've made those transformations, of course, I can hit enter or return, or I can just click the check mark up in my edit bar up here, and that transform is gonna take place. So, I mean, right now, it's okay. It's pretty good. But you can kind of see if you pay attention that this is obviously a vector object that we've just placed over the top of our bag here. So there's a number of things we could do to change this and make it a little nicer. Let's open, well, did I grab one already? I'm trying to think if I've gone through and let's see, I'm gonna open up my downloads folder here. So I've downloaded this, of course. Let's go into Adobe Stock, because I want to find a nice texture I can use to help blend this in. So let's bring this browser window over here. This is, of course, stock.adobe.com. There's plenty of stuff in here. And hello, Sean. How are you? Welcome to the Behance stream. And I'm checking on YouTube and LinkedIn Live. They seem to be working out pretty well. LinkedIn Live is actually saying my stream is poor right now, which is, hey, that's what happens, right? For YouTube, still says it's good. Oh, Behance is saying it's poor too. So if this happens, I might have to kill one of my alternate streams. That's one of the drawbacks of streaming 3 streams from my MacBook, and my connection here is, of course, not unexpected that it might go a little weird. It might take up more bandwidth than is optimal. So I'm going to type in texture here. And you can see in Adobe Stock, you can choose between all these different items, and one of those items is free. This is one of the cool things I added in the last year to Stock. They've got an actual, free to use library of images and video and vectors and all sorts of stuff. So you just choose free, you type in a search term, and you see what comes up. So I'm going to want some kind of a cloth texture for this. I'm going to want photos as a subcategory. Let's see what else here. All right. So let's go down and find something that looks like cloth. This looks like it might be all right. That blue one there, definitely this one. You can see that's a nice, major buffering issues. All right. In that case, I am going to kill my YouTube and my LinkedIn Live streams. I'm going to kill both of those. I think they were just taking up too much bandwidth. So then everything is going to be available through Behance. Oh, hey, Georgina. What do you mean it's not me? So I just killed I killed my streams to YouTube and LinkedIn Live. So hopefully all of my stuff should be reserved for you all on Behance now. And I mean, honestly, I was watching both of those additional streams the whole time, just going back and forth, and there were people watching, but nobody was commenting like you all do on Behance. So Behance is the priority here, and I've gone ahead and took care of that. Well, it was an experiment. Now I know. So wonderful. All right, so let's see here. I don't know. I mean, this one is pretty nice. Let's click on it to see. Maybe I'll just grab both. I'll license this one. And you can see you have to license it just like you do for other stuff in Adobe Stock. But, you know, it's licensed for free. So you don't have to quite worry about credits or anything like that. I'm going to grab this one too because this one might work out as well. So just click license, it'll download. You notice it downloads to my downloads folder, but you know, it also saves to my default library. This is a library of my peeps. I teach a class on user experience and user interface design as well. And this was my example project for spring semester, my peeps. So I don't know why it's saving it to that library, but I've probably got like a bunch of objects inside of there at this point, which is kind of fun. So I'm gonna have to figure that out one of these times, but anyway, we should be good. So Sean mentions it seems smoother now. That's good to know. Thank you, Sean. I definitely hope it is smoother. It should be after I killed those others. Because basically what I was doing is sending out 3 RTMP streams to 3 different providers all at the same time. As an experiment, you know. So I probably won't be doing that again. One might be okay, like if I send it to YouTube or LinkedIn Live, as well as Behance, but I think 3 is kind of overkill. At least it seems that way. All right. So OBS is saying I'm green and good, and Behance is also saying that my stream is green and good, and Sean is saying that it's good, so. Yeah. So Sean also mentions you can click on the icon and pick which library you want it saved in. Yeah, so I just need to manage that a little better. I'm just always like flying through this stuff, and then I end up cleaning up afterwards, which isn't always the best way to do it. But it's okay. All right, so now that we got those images downloaded in my downloads folder, you can see here we got this Adobe stock image right here, which is this nice kind of rough stitch looking thing, and then we have this, which isn't quite as it isn't quite as pronounced. You don't have the contrast, you know, in this one, but I do like the fact that it's kind of more rumpled, right? You got these rumpled areas of darkness and light, so I might be able to use both of these when making this a little more realistic looking, because as you can see here, the bag itself has some of that crumple texture to it too. So we're trying to match things and get things moving here. The first thing I'm going to do is bring over that really rough stock image, the one that's really, you know, high contrast in terms of the stitching and the texture, right? That's what I want. That's what I'm looking for initially. Oh, Georgina mentions it's good for her as well. So that's perfect. Looks like, I mean, I was pretty sure that was probably the issue. And of course that was the issue too for the echo as well. Yeah, I mean, it was an experiment, and we'll probably not do that experiment again. I know there are other things you can do, like there are services you can do, like StreamYard, to kind of go off to different places, restream, and then all that heavy lifting is done on their servers. I wasn't sure if my internet connection and such would be able to handle it, and apparently it can't, so oh well. All right, so we've got our image here. I just turned off the visibility of that texture layer so I can make a selection, because what I want to do is make a mask for that that stitching. And the stitching itself, I want to apply to basically like the white areas of the Fractured Vision Media logo here. So let's go ahead and use, I don't know, the Dum Dum Magic Wand tool might work. You know, it's funny, this is one of the oldest tools, you know, inside of Photoshop for smart selections, right? But it's still useful. It's still useful. It's not pointless. So like a lot of tools, you know, you use them and they get replaced. You get better tools. I mean, definitely some of these others, right? So the object selection tool is amazing. Quick selection tool, you got like the background selection tool and stuff like that. They all have like their little strengths and everything. If you just want something straight and simple, you know, the magic wand tool still is like super useful for that. So I tend to use it, especially if you've got like, you know, nice clean lines like this vector image has. It's perfect. Hello, Vikram. Welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well today. Yeah, we've got a good showing today. A lot of people joining in. So thanks, everyone. So I'm going to turn on the visibility for my texture layer from Adobe Stock. And you can kind of see that you got the marching ants there. So it's ready to be transformed or utilized as a masked selection. So with my texture layer selected, I'm going to just look down here and, you know, Photoshop does have a dedicated create mask button. This will create a mask from the selection and apply it to the layer that I have selected. So once I click on this, like boom, wonderful. That's really good. So of course, right now, yeah, you got the texture, but it's only the texture, right? It doesn't really present itself like we would want it to. So how do we fix that? I could go in here and try a couple things. We could take the opacity down like this. We could also, though, go in and change the blend modes. And I'm so glad that on macOS for Photoshop, you now have the blend mode preview that Windows has had for so long. I used to be primarily a Windows user, and you know, coming over to Photoshop from using it on Windows for so long, it was so strange that wasn't a thing on the Windows version or the Mac version of what are we using here? Photoshop. All right, so pull that down a little bit. I want it to just be kind of, you know, I think the stitching's a little too big, right? It's too spaced out. What we can do for that is if we unlink, so you notice there's a little chain here between my mask and my layer that's being masked. So if I unlink these, I'm going to be able to select this particular layer, and I can do it like a Command or Control T, and I can transform and shift the actual layer around without dealing with the mask itself. So you can see how that's shifting and moving under there. And actually, let's rotate it a bit too, so it's not quite as yeah. Then it's kind of going against what the actual bag, how that grain is working and that texture. So it's gonna stand out a bit more, right? Go ahead and commit that, hitting Return Enter. And as always, I'm doing a Command S every once in a while to save. So another thing we can do here, right now it's still very flat. Let's add a little bevel to it, right? And bevel is like a weird thing because bevel is so easy to overdo in any application. Photoshop, Illustrator, Animate, whatever you're dealing with. I mean, in Fireworks, if anybody's a Macromedia Fireworks user from back in the day, that was a bevel machine, right? So what I'm going to do here is, so I just got a warning. OBS is telling me that my stream's it's blinking from like orange to red to green. So I may have a bit of an unstable connection overall. Maybe it isn't quite to do with that other stuff, but we'll keep pushing on. Let me know, everyone, if things blow up. on the Behance side of things. Oh God. Yeah, my preview up there is frozen, so I hope it's not frozen for all of you. All right, let's just push on and we'll see what happens. It looks like I'm all green now on my side of things, so hopefully it's gonna kind of even out. All right, so we're in our layer styles here, and of course we get to layer styles just by kind of double clicking on the empty areas of a particular layer. So if I double click there, then I get my layer styles. So as I was saying, I want to add some bevel to this. And you know, it's super easy to overdo bevels. You got to be really careful. I think bevel is probably easier to overdo than drop shadows are. So we can play with some of this. It's already added a bit of bevel, which is nice. You can change things like the depth, the size, and so forth. Just kind of play with this a little bit. Maybe change that depth a bit. And you can see right now it's kind of like a hard edge bevel. I want to smooth that out a bit as well. So we can soften that. There we go. Of course, if you soften it too much, the bevel goes away. Another thing that you should be concerned about is the lighting and the light source on the original photo. So I'm going to just hit OK right here because we're using layer styles, so we can always edit those afterwards. So if I zoom out here, I'm trying to figure out where the light source is. It looks like it's basically coming from above. You can see like right here, there's a bit of a shadow that's being cast from above where the bag's kind of crinkling a little bit. So that's kind of what we want to emulate in the lighting for our bevel as well. So let's go back into our layer effects and just adjust that bevel a little bit. Just coming straight up like that. And you can change how close it is or how far away. I think it's going to be pretty far away because I think we're dealing with an overcast day here in the photo. We're dealing with sunlight, and it's way up there. It's not like Colorado where the sun is basically like, you know, like at your front door, which is, you know, I mean, so a lot of people like that about Colorado. So I live in Colorado. That's why I'm talking about it. A lot of people like that the sun is out all the time and it's hot all the time in the summer. The sun is a beast here. And it's basically, it lives like right next door to you. So you walk outside, lots of people say hi to their neighbors. My neighbor is the actual sun. All right, so you can change, of course, the highlight and shadows here. So we could increase those shadows a little bit. And it's looking pretty good. It's still a bit too sharp, I think. And maybe I'll just take the depth down to fix that. Yeah. So it's just giving a hint of that. Let's go ahead and hit OK. And we can see that we've got that texture there. And if we zoom in, we can see the texture, right? But we've also got nicely some additional dimension to this, right? And, you know, speaking of drop shadow, there should be a little shadow down here too. The patch is raised. So if the sun's hitting it, especially at the angle it's at, it should definitely have some additional stuff going on. So I'm gonna go ahead and let's add a little drop shadow. Yeah, pretty good. And I'm gonna change the angle here again. There we go. Looking pretty good. This looks much more realistic now, like it's actually there. So I'm not sure if I need to use that other texture that we downloaded or not. I was going to use that for the black parts, but let's go ahead and see first how this kind of works. Man, I'm getting all sorts of notices around my poor video quality today. I guess today's just a bad day for streaming. So apologies all if you're experiencing stuttering or freezing or anything like that. Unfortunate, but it is a fact of streaming, right? And we've all dealt with this over the last year for sure, in all the different Zoom meetings and things like that. All right, so let's go ahead and before I do anything else, let's change the blend mode of this a bit. Ooh, that's pretty cool actually. Hard light, vivid light, linear light. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put a hard light on here to blend it even more. But I do want to change the texture a little bit. So I am gonna use that additional texture. So let's pop into here and bring that additional texture over. There we go. So you can see that bevel applied. It's pretty cool. I'm just gonna find a spot that's gonna look pretty good. Yeah. And commit that with enter or return. And let's do the same thing. So this is gonna be almost exactly like we did before. So I'm gonna turn off the visibility there. And I want to make a selection with my magic wand. This time I'm gonna choose the black portion of the logo, right? Atarva, hello. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Apologies if not. I'm always, you know, I always try to be aware of that sort of thing. My name, Lebrec, gets mispronounced all the time. And I don't really take offense to it, but, you know, I try to be aware of pronunciations and correct pronunciations as we go through this stuff. So apologies if I haven't pronounced your name correctly. But hello. Anyway, how are you doing today? All right. So you can see here I've applied the mask in the exact same way. And, you know, this is pretty cool. Like, I've got just this one object here, this Vector Smart object, and I'm simply applying different textures and patterns and things like that to specific portions of that same object. Now, there's other workflows you can do. You can break it apart. You could always bring this stuff in as individual shape layers. So you got like the white and the black and so forth. But I've chosen to do it this way because I think you're able to do it. You're capable of it. And it just seems a bit more straightforward. So let's go ahead and fix this up because right now it's just the pure blue texture, right? So let's actually change this. And what I'm gonna do to change this, I could just take the opacity down a bit. I actually want to make this black. I don't want it to be blue. So let's add a adjustment layer. So I'm gonna go down to my adjustment layers down here and let's do black and white. I could also do hue saturation, just pull the saturation down, but let's do black and white. And at this point, I can go ahead and just make sure that that's done properly until I like it. Looks good to me. And you can see in here, now we've got, I'm going in too much, you can see the pixels now in the pixel grid. But yeah, if I go in like this, you can see like we've got dimensionality to our entire patch here. And we've also got, you know, the texture that has been applied to both of these, both the lettering and also the background pretty nicely. I'm going to make sure this is a clipping mask as well. Or a clipping. Yeah. It doesn't matter that much. But, yeah, I only want that to apply to the logo, the badge, the patch, whatever you might want to call it, and not the rest of the content, right? So it looks really good. I think the textured effect is pretty spot on right now. There are some more things we could do in terms of, you know, making it sort of like, we could put like a little bit of rumple in there if we wanted to like warp this a little bit, give it a little something. I'm actually not going to fiddle with that though. I want to keep it pretty clean, because it looks as though it would be, you know, a rather stiff type of patch. However, I think the lighting could be adjusted to match. And I could match the lighting of the logo here, the patch, or I could try to match the photo more to the lighting that exists on the patch. It's a creative choice, right? So I think what I'm gonna do is actually make adjustments to my photograph here. So let's pull out, and I'm gonna go into my adjustment layers once again, and let's just go into levels, keep it nice and simple. We can see here in the levels, the whites are a bit, you know, over there. We've got our blacks. We could pull those down a bit. And the mids, I think this is the kind of the sweet spot. Yeah, just make that a little bit darker. And sometimes it even helps to just change the opacity a bit, especially if it's popping a bit too much. If that badge is popping, take it to like 68% or so. And there we go. That's looking pretty good. And the idea behind this, of course, is you could use it for, you know, some sort of a campaign, some sort of a, you know, a branding concept, anything like that. You could display this to, even if it's not like a finished thing, right? Maybe you're actually going to produce these things and stitch them onto bags and have a photographer come in and take actual photos and so forth. You know, this is great for concepting, right? So you're just showing someone, you're trying to sell the idea, like this is what we should do. We should get branded bags, right? So yeah, right on. I am gonna stop streaming for today. The main reason being that I am having atrocious trouble with my stream quality. I'm not sure why, but it's not good. So yeah, I've got a terrible stream right now. I've got like 755 kilobyte per second. Tons of drop frames. So anyone who's still here, we're gonna call it. I did want to go on a little bit longer, but this is pretty good. We got about 45 minutes in, and we're able to complete the project. That's always a great thing. I hope everyone is well and that your summer is going well. And yeah, I'll be back next week with something else. I can't remember quite what though. For that, I have to like check my Behance, because I do have my schedule listed out on my Behance. Let's see. Let's open it up. Whew, bring it over here. Right on. Wow, that's really behind right now. Goodness. Oh well. What are you gonna do? Oh, it's not that behind. Here we go. Past Joseph is fixing stuff up really nice over there, so that's good. At least my stream isn't dead. And actually, I've got like super connection right now. I've got green light, over 2,000 kilobytes per second, so that's pretty good. Yeah, so if you go to work under my Behance, you're able to find my streaming schedule here. And I do keep this updated. And this is today, June the 9th. Textured graphic effects. Next week, same time, 8 a.m. Pacific, we're going to be doing designing album art. So creating a little bit of conceptual album art. I was going to do it for an actual album, but that's already done. So I have to come up with a fake album and create some album art for it. But that'll be fun. We're going to use InDesign primarily for that, but also Photoshop and Illustrator and so forth. So, yay. That's going to be fun. Right on. I'm going to close the stream, everyone. Again, thank you for sticking with me today, despite the strange internet dips and drops and my experiments at the beginning with LinkedIn Live and YouTube. That's looks like it's something that's too much trouble than it's worth, unfortunately. But I wanted to try it, right? And my coffee's gone too, so time to wrap it. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I'll see you all next week if you show up. If you don't, again, best wishes, and I hope this was fun for you. I had a good time. And again, thank you.